Hi guys, Daniel from Kaikoura Cheese. Just want to talk to you about our new cheese called the Baby Laugesen. We make a bigger format cheese called the Laugesen, which we recently got a gold medal for. But we're now doing a smaller version, around about 100 grams. And I just want to talk to you mainly about the rind and what you should expect when you come across the cheese, and just the variation, bearing in mind that we are an artisan cheese producer. And there will be variation, particularly through the seasons. You'll get quite a different cheese in summer than what you would in spring or autumn. So I was going to take you through the aging process. If we look at this end, so with this cheese here, we're quite young. The rind hasn't developed yet. And so what we do to develop the rind is we have open air maturing rooms. So we're right next to the ocean, and what we're trying to do is encourage an environment that harvests the wild yeasts or the wild molds that are coming in, particularly the yeast. And what that does is it gives the cheese, in this particular example, is that you get a real bready, yeasty appeal, flavour. Now, to create that environment on the cheese, what we do is we wipe the cheese in the local beer, which is also a gold medal award-winning business. So we're washing the cheese with their beer, and what it does is it makes the rind quite sticky, so when you touch it, it sort of feels like the back of sellotape. And so what we have to do over 4 weeks, 5 weeks, is we have to keep that consistent. So every couple of days we'll wash the cheese or wipe the cheese in the beer to keep it sticky. So you'll see that all quite sticky. Over time, so you'll go from like a white cheese, and then eventually you'll get sort of a peachy colour. You get a peachy colour, and when you start getting that peachy colour, you've got the rind development. Now sometimes when you're developing that rind you will get some grey moulds. So these grey moulds are absolutely fine, they don't impart any flavour. You don't want it to be completely covered in the grey moulds, but the grey moulds are absolutely fine, and quite often we'll get people coming back to us saying, "Oh, we bought some of your cheese and it was mouldy," and we're like, "We're cheese makers, it's supposed to be mouldy." That's what we do. We take fresh milk and make it mouldy cheese. So we encourage that. We don't want to hide. You can hide those moulds and yeast, but that's detrimental to the flavour. So you don't get as good a flavour, or the flavour that we're trying to achieve with the natural or the wild flora. So it's just about getting, when you're eating the cheese, just getting comfortable with those different moulds that are coming in and those variations. They're perfectly safe to eat, and they don't really have too much of an impact on the texture, the body of the cheese, or the flavour. So yeah, you can see 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks. You can say they're ready in 4 weeks, exceptional at 6 weeks. But everyone likes their cheese at different ages. You could go, I'm quite comfortable at 12 weeks. Much further past that, I think the quality of the cheese starts to drop off. So you do have quite a big window of that cheese being good enough to eat. Remember that the cheese is sold at, or is matured at 11 degrees. So even though we store it at 4 or 5 degrees, when someone's transporting that cheese, it's fine to get up to about 15 degrees. It's not going to harm the cheese at all. So if someone's worried about transporting the cheese, say an hour away, 5 hours away, if that cheese is in the back of their car, if they put it in somewhere dark or out of sunlight, then the cheese will be fine. It's not going to have much of an impact on the cheese, and certainly it will have no impact on the food safety of the cheese.